Watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through 4th and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Die.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of Trap or Die Podcast. I'm your host of the Trap or Die Podcast, Mual. And I had a surprise, but guess what? I forgot to put him backstage. So that's on me. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We definitely appreciate y'all tapping in live. Audio side, man, as always, hit that follow button if you haven't done so yet. Hit us with a rate and review, man. It's free to do so, and it takes 10 seconds to show you support that way, man. We always appreciate it. Dre is in here. AJ, the black screen with no picture, is in here. What's going on with y'all, man? Dre, what's up? What's the second day in a row? You know, this is the off season. We don't do this, and we don't do this usually.
And I'm still getting off work every day back in the office. So I'm tired, brother, but I'm here, man.
Yeah, new days, man. What's up with you, AJ? How you feeling?
I don't know how I'm feeling. The weather is kicking my ass, hot, cold. Yeah, it seems like I'm starting to cough again. That's why I think the cough got put in the intro.
Well, luckily we made it through the intro before you started coughing.
Nah, man, blessed to be here. You know, definitely glad that we have an offensive guru on here. You know, chop it up about some Washington football. I've heard a lot of amazing stories from Jay Gruden, from my client back in the day, D'Angelo Hall. So, you know, definitely a pleasure to have him on here. Just sucks that he forgot about his birthday yesterday. So let's wish him a happy birthday.
Are y'all not going to sing again?
Happy birthday. Did you really forget your birthday, Jay?
I ain't forget his birthday. Oh, no, wait, my bad. Hold on. I'm muted. I got him. There you go.
I didn't forget my birthday. I didn't think I had any plans. My wife planned a dinner I didn't know about. That's what happened.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna spare you the trouble. You know, Dre and AJ sung a happy birthday for you yesterday, but it didn't sound too good. So yeah. Y'all don't got to do it again unless y'all want to.
We don't want to put you through that misery.
Oh man.
I know you guys got your own theme song, by the way. Trap or Die. Who wrote that? That's pretty good.
Yeah. I'm clipping this. I'm sending it to my friend. Yeah, that's one of my childhood friends. He's an artist. In all the ways, a model and an actual artist. So I asked him to look out for us. His name's Montez.
Nice.
So yeah, shout out to Montez, man, as always. Benz, I see you. Big Doug, Carmi, what's up? I see y'all in the chat as well. If y'all got questions for Jay, go ahead and shoot them. And we can try to get some in to Jay as we get things started. But you know, now that we got the birthday things out of the way, Jay, man, I think this is honestly a perfect time to really talk about the Commanders. You was able to first and foremost see the full entire season and how everything played out. The in-season moves that they made with the acquisition of Marshawn Lattimore, but also recently, a couple days ago, getting Deebo Samuel, understanding honestly the pressure that's on Adam Peters now that the expectations has risen. What do you think about that move? I guess we can start with Deebo. What do you think about that move to acquire Deebo and what that means for this offense?
I think it's a great move, really. 5th round pick. You think about Terry McLaurin last year, and he had OZ next to him. He had De'Ami Brown. He had Noah Brown. He had James Crowder at times. Now it's got Deebo Samuel. This is a whole different dog now. This guy's, I know he might be a little bit older, had some injuries, he might gained a couple pounds in the waist. I don't know, but I know this. He's a dog, and I love the way he plays. He's physical. He can block on the perimeter for the perimeter runs and the perimeter screens, which is huge. And he can run the ball out of the backfield or on the reverses or on the jet sweeps. This is another bona fide weapon for Jayden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury. I love the move.
Well, Jim, let me ask, because there's been a lot of talk, obviously, about his weight, and a lot of people are saying he's not the same Deebo, which he may not be the same Deebo of the last couple of years, but do you kind of buy into the notion that maybe he's, quote-unquote, washed?
No, he's not washed. We'll see next year, but he's gained a few pounds. You can lose weight now, right? I mean, it's not that hard to lose a few pounds. Just eat some salad every once in a while. He'll get right back into shape. It's a contract year for Deebo, too. Don't forget now. He's got to make some money. He's not going to come in here 300 pounds and running 5.40. He's going to get himself in shape. I know Deebo. I met him. I interviewed him. He's a great competitor. He's going to do what it takes to get in shape. So he'll help this football team in a lot of ways. I think the most important thing for him moving forward, he's got to get a new contract. He's got 1 year left on his deal. He's making, I think $21 million. Washington's only accounted for 17.5 of it, but it's a big year for Deebo.
Here's one thing because of what Dre brought up. And I told you I had a theory, AJ and Dre, about like how this whole thing, people kind of see him like having a down season or a decline. Jay, I want your opinion on this. I don't think I just got done. Now I'm nowhere near, humbly saying I'm nowhere near like the level of analyst as you. But I do my own film sessions and watch my own tape. And I got done this week like watching probably like 400 snaps of Deebo and of 2024. And like what dawned on me, like the public narrative that he's washed or had a decline or a season that was on a decline, I think is misguided strictly off of the fact that he had such an explosive 2021 season. I think if you look at that, 77 catches, 1,400 yards, total of 1,700 all-purpose yards. I think truly speaking, like his level of production, like statistically speaking, has never really always been that high. It's always been around like 800, 900 yards in terms of all-purpose yards each season. And I think for a person like him, that's perfectly fine because he's an all-purpose weapon. He's not necessarily like a true number 2 receiver or like that's not the type of person that he is on an offense. But what he brings is playmaking ability. He brings a person who can really house a pass or a run from any distance. But the more important thing is like he's a powerful runner. He's a strong runner. He has excellent contact balance. The ball in his hands makes him dangerous. He adds to an offense. And I think that's what San Francisco benefited with Deebo. And I think when people see a person who had 800, and I say all purpose, I meant yards from scrimmage. When somebody sees something like that and think that that's a decline season, I more so think that's misguided because like the tape says that he is perfectly fine and he can be 240 pounds. But that's exaggeration. But he can be heavy and still be just as productive as he was in 2024 and be a dangerous weapon for any offense. What do you think about kind of the theory that's being pushed out there?
Yeah, I don't agree. Well, I don't think Washington needs Deebo to get 2,000 yards. They got Terry McLaurin. They're going to have a strong running game. Jayden Daniels is going to rush for another 800 or 900 yards, right? They just need another solid option to go alongside Terry McLaurin and give some running back relief as well to B. Rob or Austin Eckler, whoever it might be. They can utilize him in a lot of different ways. So yeah, I would be expecting Deebo to get around 1,100 to 1,200 yards from scrimmage, really. And that's a great year. But the things that people don't understand, what other yards he's responsible for with the play actions and his ability to block for other people on the perimeter, that's unseen yards nobody knows about. And this is why I love the move because of what he can do on the perimeter as far as blocking for Austin Eckler on screens or blocking for Terry McLaurin on a little receiver screen or what have you. He's a dynamic player, both with the ball and without the ball, in my opinion.
And Jay, I got to ask you, how before AJ goes, how do you think Cliff utilizes Deebo in a sense? Because with Kyle and I think San Francisco, they used him as a running back a lot before Christian McCaffrey got there because they had to, and they felt out that he was really effective at it. But going forward, I guess, age 29 season, do you see Cliff kind of using him the same way as Kyle, or do you think Cliff kind of uses him more in the pass game as a receiver?
Probably more in a pass game, but I think they'll use him on some reverses and things of that nature. That's where he's really good. Jet sweeps on the perimeter. So yeah, I think having Deebo standing next to Jayden Daniels, they line up an empty, motion Deebo back inside. Now you're running the zone with Deebo, and the quarterback RPOs or the zone reads with Jayden could be pretty dangerous. That's the thing about Deebo. I think he can give you whatever you want. And how much does Cliff want to really dig into that rabbit hole? Because he can be there for a long time with the versatility of Deebo. You just got to have a good set plan early in the season and then continue to use them as the season goes on in unique fashion, because Deebo is a very smart player. He can do a lot of different things in a lot of different formations. I don't know if that's Cliff's style or not, but he'll have that versatility to do that.
So, Jay, I wanted to ask you, a lot of times, especially nowadays with how pass happy the league is, and you came from Cincinnati with a lot of weapons to your disposal in the receiver game. Do you believe that there's such thing as a number 2 wide receiver, number 3 wide receiver? Or is it just you want to get as many guys the opportunity to make plays on the field and spread the ball around?
Yeah, I think there's a number 1, number 2, number 3, probably receiver. It depends on the personnel grouping. Obviously, if you're in 2 tight ends or 2 running backs and 2 receivers, your number 1 receiver will be your bell cow, and then your number 2 will be the other guy. If you're in a 3 receiver set, then you got your 2 outside guys. Your number 3 is usually the slot player. Doesn't mean that's how they're ranked. That's just how people kind of see them from a pay scale range and from a production standpoint. Typically, your 1 is the number 1 gets the most guys. Number 2 gets the second most, and the number 3 gets the third most. That's just how it goes. But, I like to try to let the defense dictate where the ball goes. Obviously, you're going to feature your number 1 guy. You got to get him the ball somehow, some way, at least 7 or 8 times a game, at least have 7 or 8, 9 targets minimum for the number 1 guy. And then let the coverages dictate where the ball goes elsewhere. When we had Deshaun, Pierre, Jordan Reed, Jamison Crowder, all those guys at once, we let the coverage play out, and we try to get Jordan Reed on matchups against linebackers and safeties, and then obviously try to let Deshaun roll down the field and take the top off and give him as many shots as we could. So from a 1, 2, 3 standpoint, it doesn't really matter just how you set your game plan for the number 1 guy to get the rock, number 2 guy to get some occasional looks, and then your number 3 guy to work the matchups.
Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, kind of shifting gears a little bit. Now that you've added a Deebo Samuel to this Washington offense, for you, what do you think is the next kind of big important piece that this offense needs?
Well, number 1, we got to get the tight end right. Zach Ertz is a free agent, and let's say Zach Ertz goes back to somewhere else, and he's gone. Now where are you going to go? You're going to re-sign Bates, and you're going to count on Ben Snott. I mean, they got to get the tight end right, because a tight end, people don't really understand the importance of the role, both in the running game and in the passing game. And Zach, he may have slowed down a little bit, and I'm sure he has, but he made a lot of big plays for this offense last year, a lot of clutch plays, situational type plays, 3rd down, red zone, 4th down. They got to re-sign Zach, in my opinion. That's number 1. Number 2, let's get the offensive line right. And then number 3, let's get another dog at running back. I'm not too upset if they go just B-Rob and Eckler again. But I'd like to add another one in the draft, because there's a lot of really good backs. There's like 15 to 20 decent backs you can get in this draft. I'd like to add another one with some juice.
What do you think about, you mentioned the offensive line part, and what's interesting is when you all drafted Brandon Sheriff, and before the season even started, you all shifted him or kicked him inside to guard. I think what's interesting.
Guard.
You said what?
Guard. Like I like how Jay says.
Hey, and when y'all shifted him inside, like this is before the season even starts, and Adam Peters, when they draft Brandon Coleman, the first thing he says is, they evaluated him as a tackle. Obviously, he had versatility throughout his college career. He played all 5 positions. And he played his entire rookie season at left tackle. What do you think about Brandon Coleman moving forward? There is conversation about what they should do. But I tend to lean that Peters is going to stick to his word, but I mean, you never know. What do you think that they should do?
You know what? I think Brandon did a really good job this year. Moving forward, is he the guy you want at tackle? That's the big question they have to ask themselves. Is he better suited at guard? Can he take over Algretti's spot? And can Nick move over to right guard? Cosme's hurt. So they got to get that. That's only if they can get a guy like a Ronnie Stanley from Baltimore. If they can get him in there, then yeah, Brandon, you're going to move. That's just the way it is. And then you can be a backup swing tackle, or you can move inside, one or the other. But I think the offensive line in general did a really good job early in the year, middle of the year, and I think towards the end of the year they struggled a little bit. But I do like the fact that they're all coming back. I just worry about Cosme, the right side, and I'm not convinced that Brandon's the guy long term for left tackle. But he played pretty well as a rookie, and he is going to get better and better. So the jury's still out for me with him. That's a tough call.
What do you think is like the one, if you had a trait that you said my left tackles, like whether it's technical or physical, like what is like that
just
one
draw
trait
up just draw up Trent Williams. That's it.
I mean, if it was
That's
ever
a
that
wrap.
easy, you know.
Yeah. He had it
Um,
all. Power, strength, speed, smarts, athletic ability. You got to have pretty good length at left tackle. Number one, you got to have good feet, and obviously you got to have some strength. It's not an easy position to play. Left tackle is probably a little bit overpaid right now. I think you get away with a little bit lesser left tackle nowadays. A lot of people are turning into more of the center guard guys because a lot of the pulling situations, and you can help your left tackle out a little bit. But perfect left tackle would be like Trent, and he's got the length, size, strength, speed, athletic ability, all that.
Jay, real quick, since we brought up Brandon Sheriff, what inclined you guys to draft him, even though he was slated as a tackle to guard? Like, what gave you guys that inclination? Was it something excuse me, I'm sorry, this cough is killing me.
AJ going through it.
But
Scott McLuhan was our GM at the time, and he had vision of Brandon playing right tackle, taking Morgan Moses' job. And I like Morgan Moses. I said, we don't need a right tackle. We got a right tackle. And damn sure Sheriff was not going to take Trent Williams' job. So, I mean, that ain't going to happen. So we tried to Brandon out at right tackle in rookie minicamp, and he was getting run around like a turnstile, man. It was brutal. So his arms weren't long enough. So we had to move him inside, but it was Scott McLuhan. Really, he wanted to try him at right tackle and beat out Morgan Moses, but that didn't come close to happening. Brandon's a great guard. There's no doubt about it. He did a lot of great things for us. I'm glad we got him, but might have been a little too much at number 5. I think it was a 4 or 5, 5th pick. There's a lot of good players out there.
Well, we heard you, presser.
I love Brandon. God damn, a guard.
Right, so another thing that's interesting, like I saw I don't know when you put it out, but you put it out sometime this week, and you talk about like the top 5 needs, and defensively I have like this conundrum with Bobby Wagner, right?
Yeah,
you mentioned like linebacker is like a top 5 need for you in terms of this offseason. And my conundrum is like, I think that the team is going to go after Bobby Wagner, but I think personally, I would be willing to sacrifice what Bobby brings to the team, veteran leadership, his mental acuity, football instincts, all of that. I would be willing to sacrifice that for athleticism and maybe just a lower scale of everything else that he brings to the team. But if you can find it, good. But like, I would rather go for this personally, but I think that the team is going to go for Bobby Wagner and the traits that he brings. What do you think about the linebacker position and how they should build upon this roster?
It's crucial because there's not many people on the roster behind him either. There's a lot of free agents behind him. So Bobby brings a lot to the table from a leadership standpoint, and he's still pretty good. He blitzes pretty effectively. He's pretty powerful in there now. He takes some bad angles every now, and he's not as fast as he used to be. He's not as good in coverage as he used to be. But I think he's made Frankie Louvo a better player too with the communication and what he's done for him. So it's very easy to say, hey, let's get faster, more athletic at middle linebacker. Well, this middle linebacker is calling all the defenses. He's making all the adjustments with all the motions and the coverage and all that stuff on the fly. That's what the middle linebackers do. He's motivating the guys. He's a leader. You're going to get that in the 3rd round, 2nd round. You're rolling the dice. I would recommend that they re-sign Bobby and then still try to draft one for depth, 3rd, maybe 4th, or maybe 6th round, whatever pick they have. Because you get, like you said, you get an athletic guy. Like we got Cole Holcomb in the 5th round. He was very athletic. He would have started for the Steelers, except he blew his knee out or something like that. But
yeah,
you get somebody like that in the 5th round that can run a little bit, because you're going to have to get a backup linebacker that can run anyway for special teams, the kickoff rule and obviously punt cover.
And Jay, I want to go back down memory lane a little bit, because I've heard the stories about you as a talent evaluator and how you banged the table for some guys that was actually productive. But do you feel like your voice was heard a lot or kind of taken into consideration more? Or do you feel like they didn't listen to you enough, and you didn't get a lot of what you may have wanted when you were here as coach?
Well, I wish they would have listened more. Not that I would have been right more often, but I put the time in. A lot of coaches that say they want to be more involved in personnel don't put the time in. I put the time in. I studied all these guys, draft, combine, Senior Bowl, East-West Shrine game. I watched all these guys in the draft, and in free agency. Obviously, I studied the hell out of them before we signed and paid them. I wish they would have listened more, just because, when you're a head coach, you finally get the opportunity to be a head coach. You'd like to put the team together that you want. Not everybody has that luxury, but that'd be a hell of a nice thing to go. Instead, I get fired and there's, 18 to 20 guys on the roster I didn't even want on the team. I didn't even want them in the city. So yeah, it's kind of frustrating. Kind of frustrating in that regard. But
why are you here?
A lot of guys I love to death, man. I'd go to my grave. I love them to death, man. But it's just, I'm the head coach, man. I'm trying to. And then they get mad at me for the culture being bad, and well, you guys are putting these son bitches on the team, not me. But but yeah, that's real. That's the biggest regret I have is not being able to construct my own football team. I would have listened to a lot of other people. Now it's not like it was just me. I would have listened to the scouts. I would have listened to the president with their ideas, the coaching staff, all the evaluators, and made my own decision. But yeah,
you just wanted like a more inclusive environment in a sense.
I want my say. Like, if I don't want that, so I don't want him. He's gone. Instead of having to play with him for 3 years or 2 years or whatever. So yeah,
this wasn't my original question, but my co-host Dre definitely asked you a great question that I want to segue into. Who was one of those guys you banged the table for that got away, that ended up turning into maybe an all-pro, maybe a major contributor on the team, that you wish maybe, I don't know if you could have went any harder, because it doesn't sound like they gave you the final call on a lot of those things, but is there someone that we might know of that you really were adamant about, we need to get this guy on this roster?
Yeah, those usually came in the draft. You can't really control the draft. Unfortunately, it was more so not guys that we let out of the building other than Trent Williams. I mean, there's absolutely no way you let Trent Williams out of the building. That's the dumbest thing in history. And at Kirk, I mean, it was another tough one just because, we gave up we had to give up a 3rd round pick for Alex Smith, and obviously he got hurt. He's a little bit older. But really it was more so about not guys that we didn't get, as more the guys we did sign that we did not think was right for our football team that would help us. And they didn't help us, and they weren't right for our football team, if that makes sense. We didn't have a lot of guys that left our team, went on to be Pro Bowlers elsewhere. I mean, we know about them.
No, I think I meant more so like the draft,
Oh, the draft. Oh, there's hundreds of them. Oh, Derrick Henry's a good one. Yeah, Derrick Henry's a good one.
So you banged the table for Derrick Henry.
Well, yeah, we had Derrick Henry in the 2nd or 3rd round, late 2nd or 3rd round, and with our first pick in the 1st round that year, we wanted Ryan Kelly, the center, and we're sure we're going to get him. Scott McCloughan, sure we're going to get him. Don't worry about it. And right before our pick, the Indianapolis Colts select Ryan Kelly, center from Alabama. And Scott McCloughan hit the table. God damn it. There, my lights went off. So now we're on the clock. We're scouring the board. There's a couple D linemen from Alabama. I think Jayden Reed was up there. Ashawn Robinson was up there. Receiving core that year was not very good if you look at it. Other than Michael Thomas, who was at Ohio State, he was projected lower. There was Josh Doxson, Will Fuller, and kid from Minnesota. I forgot his name.
I don't blame you for taking Josh, by the way.
Yeah,
or for y'all taking Josh.
What about this big SOB from Alabama? This running back. He's a monster. And they're like, nah, we got him late 2nd. We'll be able to get him back then. And sure enough, Nashville or Tennessee Titans took him in the early 2nd, and we didn't get him. But there's a lot of stories like that. But you never know. The draft is hard, man. It's hard. I mean,
we had to watch Josh Doxson instead of Derrick Henry.
Yeah, that hurts.
What was his deal, Jay?
Picture how much life would have changed for everyone as a fan.
And he's still playing.
Jay as the coach.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying. No, what Josh was probably the right. Josh was pretty damn good. Now Josh had a 48-inch vertical. He just couldn't get right health wise, man. That's he just. What was that movie? Can't get right. That was Josh with his health. He came in with bad heels, bad Achilles, bad. And he was more of a guy that didn't get a lot of separation. He really relied on a lot of 50-50 type balls, and Kirk ain't throwing that. Kirk's not throwing it to you unless you're open. So Josh never really got a chance to excel at his gift, and that's leaping. I mean, jumping and his timing and his back shoulder stuff. So it wasn't a good pick from a production standpoint, but at that time, Josh was a pretty damn good athlete. He just never got the opportunity. He was never really healthy.
Question, you brought up Kirk. and it actually not necessarily about him per se, but actually about Jayden. I don't was you how many years did you have with Andy Dalton? It was like 2 years
I had
before you
first
came
three.
first three. Okay. You know, that second season for a quarterback, a rookie from a rookie quarterback going into their second season, I think is often talked about across the league, just generally speaking. And obviously the sophomore slump is kind of a commonly used theme. Is there something specific or something that you can think of during your time with Andy Dalton? Because I liked him coming out of college. I liked him in Cincinnati. And I think for him to have that success, you all went from I think 9 wins to 10 wins to 11 wins. Like it kept going up each season before you got here in Washington. What's kind of the thing from a rookie perspective going into that second season that you think is one of the more important things that Jayden's going to have to be aware of going into his second season here in Washington?
Well, number one, he's going to be a lot more comfortable with all the play calls, everything about the way the NFL operates from a week-to-week basis, from a game-to-game basis, from a preparation standpoint. He'll be ready. He'll understand defenses and coverages and what teams are trying to do to him, especially within a division. Second-year defensive coordinators are going to get a little bit more tricky on him. They're going to try new things. But the good thing about Jayden is he can hurt you in so many different ways. I'm trying to think of what can a defensive coordinator do to really, what are you going to do? You play eyes, spot, drop zones against them. But he's shown he can pick that apart. You're going to blitz him. He's shown he sits in there and picks that apart. So you get after him. He'll run around pursuit and get a 15, 20-yard gain. I don't know how you stop this son of a gun, man. This is a bad man. And I'm excited to watch him again next year. I think the way he works and the more comfortable he's going to be in a system with Cliff, I think the better he's going to. Now you just add Deebo Samuel. Hopefully you get Zach Ertz or another tight end presence. And if you get another running back, solidify the offensive line a little bit with some depth. They'll be dangerous again on offense, but going to have to get some stops on defense too now.
Flashback right quick. Put him on your 2016 offense. Jayden Daniels. Are we in the playoffs? Like, do we make the playoffs? Do we win around in the playoffs?
Yeah, we win a lot. This guy is a special dude. And there's nothing against Kirk now. It's just the things that you could do with this guy. Or just, the only problem. The problem with Jayden is you have too much offense. I'd be in my office for, hours and hours coming up. Like you can only call so many plays, but we got to do this zone read. We got to do this RPO. We got to do this bootleg. Holy cow! Look at this. Let's pull both tackles and bring our tight end around and keep it. You can only practice so much. That's the issue I think Cliff has, and that's a dynamic Jayden has. Is he could do it all, and that's the issue I would have with him being a coordinator or play caller. Is shit. Where do you stop the line? Where do you draw the line? When do you stop putting in plays? Because he can do them all. Fun guy to watch.
Well, Jay, not to put you on the spot or anything, but would you say that Jayden is already a top 5 quarterback in the NFL?
Yeah, I would actually. Yeah, I think with his talent and his what he did this year with the Washington Commanders, winning playoff games, going to the NFC Championship. Yeah, I think so. Especially NFC. Who do you got really? Jalen Hurts and him and Matthew Stafford. I'd rather have Jayden than Jordan. You get that coming off an injury. You get definitely in NFC is top 1 or 2 in the NFC. Then AFC, you got Josh Allen and Mahomes and Burrow. So he's right in that group, right behind those 3 in the AFC. I think he's right there.
So you mentioned how prolific Jayden Daniels is as a prospect for you and how he already entered the league year 1 and what he's done with the Commanders. When you look at this wide receiver room, even with the addition of a Deebo Samuel, there's only 2 guys under contract at wide receiver, Terry McLaurin and Luke McCaffrey. And with the wide receiver pool that is available from free agency wise, draft class, and you have some prominent names asking for trades today, DK Metcalf, for example, would you still want to add to that wide receiver room? Would it be more so focused on another veteran, or would you go the rookie route?
Both. I think they got to get another veteran for sure. We talk about Deebo and his injury history. You can't count on him to play 17 games. You're hoping he does. Obviously, Terry, he pulls a hamstring. Then what? You got to get some depth. I think the receiver room has got to have. You go into training camp. You got to have 6 guys you feel pretty good about. And then the rest of them will be rookie free agents. You're going to have opportunities too. Maybe one of those can excel in training camp. You're like, holy cow, look at this guy. He's now our 5th or 4th. So yeah, I think you want to be 5, 6 deep before, or at least 4 deep before you get to the draft. And then you can add, one good solid draft pick and then 3 or 4 college free agents. And then maybe another veteran free agent that's on the streets that, like they do with Jameis Crowder. Jameis Crowder did some good things for him last year. And you'll find guys like that on the streets, in a couple months.
Do you quick little debate that me and co-hosts were having in regards of Deebo Samuel addition? I see him more so in this offense as a slot guy. Yes, he could play outside, but I felt like San Francisco kind of did that by force due to how many weapons that they did have offensively, from the Kettles, McCaffrey, Jawan Jennings, Ayuk. Do you see Deebo as a slot guy? And what do you think about possibly adding in a Christian Kirk, who has been primarily used as a slot guy within the NFL ranks? Did you work with Christian Kirk for a little bit?
I didn't know. Cliff had him at Arizona.
Okay.
And then he went to I was only with the Jags for a year. That lasted really good. We were 1-15, and that was a COVID year. That was a lot of fun. Went through 3 quarterbacks: Minshew, Jake Luton, and Mike Glennon.
That was Minshew rookie year, wasn't it?
No, it was like 2nd or 3rd year. He got hurt though. But Kirk's a good player. I think Deebo can do that. Like we mentioned before, Deebo can play outside or inside. He's not a guy that's going to burn the field ablaze and take the top off all the time, but he can run the high crosses. He can run the out routes, the hitches, the slants, all that stuff. He's good outside. He's good inside. He's done both. In 3-by-1, he can be number 2. He can be number 3. He can be number 1. So yeah, Deebo's a versatile guy. He's very, very smart. He's very well schooled in the fact of how to run routes in different locations. And Kirk is a true slot guy. So yeah, if they're going to be in a lot of 11 personnel, then you need a good, true inside receiver. So yeah, he wouldn't be a bad addition. I would prefer them to get another guy that can really run, bigger type guy. Obviously, those are hard to find. Hopefully they re-signed De'Ami Brown, because I think De'Ami did some good things last year, despite the fumble against the Eagles. I think he was really coming on, gaining a lot of confidence towards the end of the year. So I think he'd be another good option.
All right. Well, AJ, first off, does that help?
Oh no, it's perfect. I mean, I'm not a De'Ami Brown fan, and I think he already knows that he's gonna go cash out wherever he can. I think he's chasing the bag more so than the opportunities. Rightfully so.
They gotta get some veteran. They gotta sign somebody in free agency before. They can't just say, hey, we're going to get 3 or 4 receivers in the draft to sign 4 or 5 college free agents. There's going to be some veteran players that are pretty good that'll be available even after the draft that I think they can get as well. So you're right. If De'Ami Brown's like that, I don't know De'Ami from Adam. I just thought he played pretty well towards the end of the year, made some big time plays, but they're going to have to get some people, because I don't think they're that too thrilled with McCaffrey personally. Otherwise they wouldn't be looking at some of these other guys, but right now they got the 3 pretty good players. If you like McCaffrey, you got him, Deebo, and obviously Terry, but you got to get some guys that can really help out in other areas.
I have so many questions for Jay, but I know our time is limited, because it's like I really want him to analyze Luke McCaffrey for us, because
Luke and Ben
Sinnott, because the fan base thinks they're supposed to be all pros, and in my opinion, it's like you can see from the college tape these guys are going to struggle next level.
Well, Luke can't really run that well. He's not very big, so I don't know what do you want him to do.
That's what I'm saying.
He's got good feet. He's not like Lad McConkey. He doesn't have that type of separation skill where he can really run in and out of cuts and all that stuff. He doesn't have any blazing speed where he can run by anybody. So he's pretty much a punt returner that can fair catch it and get you 5 yards on the punt return and maybe catch a screen.
Hey, Jay is so different.
I love Trey Quinn.
I'm about to say,
I love Trey Quinn. Trey Quinn was a dog, man. Damn it, he kept getting hurt too. I even brought in Jacksonville, and he was balling out in practice. In the first game, he catches a punt and hurts his knee. I'm like, what the hell, Trey?
Well, I mean, and so what about your own opinion on Ben? I mean, Ben Sinnott. I mean, obviously, they like him and they like Luke, but what do you think about Ben Sinnott?
Ben's a sight unseen for me. I didn't really do him out of college. I know that they liked him coming out. Obviously, I've mentioned this before. Tight end's hard, man, for rookies. I mean, you're talking about the running game, the motions. You're sifting one side, you're reaching the guy, you're blocking inside, and man, then you're running around, you're chipping, you're down the field, your formations, you're 1x3, 3x1. It's hard for a tight end to come in and really take over the tight end room, because you got to do a lot of different things. And hopefully Ben, with the year under his belt, learning under Zach, is ready to take another step, be the true number 2 guy. If not, if he has to jump to number 1 with Bates and Ertz being gone, I don't know if he's ready or not, but I know he's got the talent, he's got the size. He's a tough blocker. He's got good hands, but whether he could put all that together and be a number 1 tight end for Washington, I probably don't see it. I see him more as a number 2 move type guy, but we'll see. Hopefully he gets better.
Man, Jay, you've been great. I just got one last question on my end, man, and I appreciate your time that you've been able to give us today. The Myles Garrett sweepstakes. Right now, Cleveland. I tell Dre and AJ all the time, I think Cleveland's being stupid. And I think that they don't realize how serious Myles Garrett is. And I think that they're willing to play ball in terms of, like, if you don't want to go nowhere, if you want to leave, we're going to make sure that you stay here as long as you want. We're going to pull your card. That's what I think they're doing. But what do you think about Washington's chances of trying to make that move after their decision to trade for Deebo? Do you think that Myles is still in play for a team like Washington?
It's going to cost them a lot of draft picks, because Myles Garrett is a game wrecker, and there's not many guys like Myles anymore. You got about 5 or 6 pass rushers. TJ Watt, the kid with the Raiders who just signed a big deal. You got maybe one of the Bosa brothers, maybe both of them. There's probably Hendrickson. He's really not like that. There's like 5 or 6 really dominant pass rushing defensive ends in pro football nowadays. If you can get one of them, it requires a lot of attention by the offense. You got to chip them, you got to pound them, you got to run away from them. You got to, there's a lot of things you got to do to them. So if you have a chance to get them, I would recommend getting them, because they're hard to find great pass rushers. Now, if they re-sign Dante Fowler, that'll tell you that they're probably not going to go after him. But if Dante Fowler stays a free agent, they don't have a pass rusher here from a defensive end standpoint. And there really aren't a lot in the draft. You're not going to find a good pass rusher at pick 26 or whatever the pick they have, or in the 3rd round or the 2nd round. This is a guy that can play, and he can seal the deal. Jayden Daniels is a starting pitcher. Myles Garrett would be the closer. So, yeah, I would recommend trying to get that big sum again.
Fellas, Dre, AJ?
Nah, man, just been great to have you on here, chop it up about some ball. Hopefully we can continue to have you on here, raw and uncut. I think that's the best way to have it. And there was a conversation that happened off camera. Please don't listen to my co-host. Stay away from the hen dog. Stay away from the hen dog.
No, we gotta get Jay on that henny.
Do not try it.
Jay, my friends call me.
I'm really, but
no
I'm
bombs,
really taking back that all these years you coach all these guys, they never ever had you try Hennessy.
I didn't go out drinking with them.
No, but even in the facility, I'm sure you've had players that have taken a shot of liquor before game.
Yeah. I played arena football for a long time, and I go out with all the fellas all the time. I just never did Hennessy. I just never tried it.
Look, man, I don't care what.
I'm about everything.
See, and that's what I'm saying. Like, look, if you gotta do one thing, Jay, out with your family or some friends, look, just. We at a bar? Okay. Matter of fact, I listen to you a lot, Jay. I know you do the podcast sometimes. I know where you watch the games at bars. Man, take a shot.
I'm gonna try it.
Just take a shot.
Okay, how about this? It's early as March. Do you come back to the DC area?
Yeah, I'll be back Memorial Day for about 4 or 5 months.
Oh wow.
You're gonna be here for 4 or 5 months?
Yeah, I got a place up there still. I go half and half. I'm like a snowbird.
Trap or Dive will sponsor a weekend with Jay Gruden. We'll cover all expenses.
Might get expensive for you, big fella.
Hey man, if we get you on the Hennessy early, you might be knocked out.
That'll be cheap. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Jay might take us under the table, bro.
Hey, nah, I don't know,
I'm a veteran now.
I'm about to say, look, man, we ain't got no lightweights over here, bro. So it's gonna be a little competition, I guess. Yeah. Okay, hey man, I appreciate you, Jay, for sure. And like I said before, being able to work with us, given our situations, man, is definitely appreciated. I want to give you the floor. I mean, I know you underdog, team underdog over here as well. But I want to give you the platform just to let anybody know and everybody know what you got going on.
Yeah, I just work for Underdog Fantasy. We have a YouTube channel. Myself, Colt McCoy, Justin Pugh, and AQ Shipley. We have an Underdog, or it's called Clean Pocket on YouTube. So go to YouTube, type in Clean Pocket, like and subscribe, whatever you guys got to do, and hit a follow. We just talk ball. It's fun.
There it is. Hey man, Jay, stay safe. And shoot, that sponsorship. Whenever you ready, you let us know.
You got my number. Give me a call.
Yep.
I'll come back on and talk some ball with you guys anytime, man. I appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir.
No more. All right, boss,
take
man.
care, Jay.
That's
Happy
it.
birthday once again.
Hey, thanks.
Yes, sir. Jay Gruden, ladies and gentlemen, great conversation. I'm happy we was able to get that done. And everybody in the chat, shout out to y'all. I see y'all are hilarious. And then as for the people that's just checking in, I saw some people checking in late. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you want to hit the rewind, do that. Go ahead, take care of that. Let's close this conversation out with, or close this show out with the receiver news, man. We was planning on, I mean, we didn't know when we was going to get Jay, so we didn't know if we was going to have him next Tuesday after free agency already started, but DK trade block. Tyler Lockett cut. Christian Kirk cut. Completely forgot about in the midst of all this. Cooper Kupp still on the trade block. Who the other guy? Brandon Ayuk possibly on the trade block. AJ Brown has been rumored, but that's only a specific connection to New England. So I'm not necessarily, and AJ Brown is not going to Washington. So I'm just naming the receivers that's out there. And then the litany of receivers that's in free agency. Now, I agree with Jay's premise of the sense of, I think that they need to still go out and get some more veteran receivers. And that doesn't stop them from getting – and I've been telling people this. Like, I don't understand why they think if you go get a receiver, a veteran receiver that can be a number 2 this year, that you can't go draft a wide receiver. Like, that makes no sense. Like, you're not going to go into the season with 4 or 5 wide receivers. Yeah. What do you all think about the news? Or let me rephrase this. Do you think that any of these newly mentioned receivers that's available – whether free agency or trade block, should interest Washington?
I think that there's a lot of wide receivers out there that could bring something to the table for Washington. You break it down from Keenan Allen, being a route runner, Amari Cooper, route runner, Stephon Diggs being a route runner. And I think right now with the group that you have, I mean, we just heard Jay Gruden break down Luke McCaffrey to a T. What the hell does he do? And what does he do well? Terry McLaurin is not a route you up type of guy. He's a 50-50 ball. I'll call him a 50-50 ball demon. Deebo's a yak demon. Right now, you don't have guys that necessarily could win consistently with their route running on the outside. But yeah, you got Devontae Adams, also another route runner. I think that's what I would like to add to the mix, a route runner. Someone of a veteran savviness, and there's so many of those guys out there. As a plethora going into this free agency. With Devontae Adams even being released already, he can sign with a team right now. You don't have to wait until the league start year to do so. Yeah, it sounds like a lot going on. Sounds a little Madden-ish, but at the end of the day, you only have 3 wide receivers that will be under contract. And one of the main things that you regret not having last year for Jayden Daniels was a plethora of wide receivers and targets. Because once Noah Brown went down, who was a wide receiver 4 or 5 in Houston, you relied heavily on some guys that you didn't really know what was going to happen week in and week out, from Olamide Zaccheaus, Jamison Crowder, Luke McCaffrey, and I think the list stops right there. So I would do as much as I could to bring in a couple more veterans. I would love a Stephon Diggs. I would love a Devontae Adams, something along those lines. But I don't think I would go the DK Metcalf route. Funny enough, shout out to my guy Tori. He represents Deebo and DK Metcalf and Donnie Brown. So yeah, I think if Washington possibly had interest in DK, that conversation would have took place in some regard. It's just kind of hard to trade for DK Metcalf, who's also going to be looking for a new contract, alongside with Terry McLaurin needing an extension. Deebo, is coming with the premises of being able to cash out on his production with his new team, which is Washington. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out, but I hope that they add as many weapons as they can for Jayden Daniels. I mean, the offense was solid, but someone say KJ Osborne. Who was that?
He couldn't get on the field last year with the wide receiver group we had last year. So I wouldn't.
Is that?
Oh no. He was asking, do they still have KJ Osborne? But that's my man. That's my man.
KJ Osborne still have himself? But they don't have him. He got released, so his contract's expired. He's a free agent. Yeah. But that's just my personal take. I'm not really into the Christian Kirk, Darius Slayton, wink wink. Dre,
I'm actually glad that you mentioned that part though. But that's why. So I tend to lean with what Jay is saying in terms of like getting a bigger bodied receiver. I'm okay with that. But I think for Washington, like that, my biggest thing when I say what AJ mentioned about Deebo is the actual fact that like his alignment is like underrepresented. Like he can line up a lot of different places on the offense. And I actually find it interesting because I think about like our conversation yesterday. AJ asked us, or maybe Dre asked us, I don't remember, but she was like, do you want him, or do you think that he's going to do the exact same thing that he did in San Francisco here? And AJ was like, yeah, like I think that, but what that represents is not a person who's going to be lined up in the slot all the time. That's going to be a person who lines up out wide. Jay already said it. You're 1, you're 2, 3. He can line up in the backfield. All these other things, and that's why I sit here and say, while I do lean going a bigger bodied receiver, I also like Christian Kirk in his offense. He has a specific role, though he can play outside. You need a slot receiver. They didn't have that last year. And they need that this year too. And Christian Kirk is one of the best receivers out there, barring an injury. And I think he's undervalued in terms of what he can provide to an offense. He's an explosive player, but he's also a person who, you can rely on his hands. So that's kind of where I'm like, I like Christian Kirk in this offense, and I like him as that veteran receiver that they can bring in here and have like a couple years to work with in Washington. And I can go a little bit further, but Dre, I'll give you the floor. But that's kind of where I am specifically with Kirk and specifically with the slot receiver position, because Luke ain't going to do that shit. Luke ain't going to get that done.
Yeah, I don't think they traded for any more receivers. I think Deebo was the trade for a wide receiver. So any of those guys that you see or hear that's available via trade, I don't think Washington will be involved, DK included. I think of all of the names that we kind of heard thrown out there today that, had some news associated with them, that Christian Kirk makes the most sense. Even though I know AJ is on this whole, 2 slot thing, I'm with Jay. You can line Deebo up any way you want to line him up, and let Christian Kirk play that slot role. I mean, he's a guy who can win consistently from the slot, and he adds to that wide receiver room. I mean, he makes the wide receiver room better. I mean, think about it. Terry, Deebo, Christian Kirk, that wide receiver room is the best wide receiver room you've had at Washington since Jay's Pierre Garçon, Deshaun Jackson, and Jamison Crowder. Since that group. I mean, that's saying, it may not be saying a lot because Washington's had some bad teams over the years, but still, that's a solid receiving group in the NFL. And you couple that with a damn Jayden Daniels. And I mean, who knows what this offense could be, with that kind of look. But yeah, Christian Kirk will be the guy I will look at, just like I said, not only, from the standpoint of what he can do. Hopefully he can be available, because that's been one of the issues with him lately, is not being available throughout a 17-game season. But he's familiar with Cliff Kingsbury. Like Cliff Kingsbury loved Christian Kirk when he had him in Arizona. So, why not get that guy here? And I think Mual made the mention of this earlier on Twitter, that Cliff knows how to find a mismatch. So I wouldn't worry about like who's lining up where when you have all of these guys. You just put them on the field, you make things happen. Cliff is an innovator, so that wouldn't worry me. But even if you don't add a Christian Kirk, you still need to add somebody, like another name. Like, I mean, and that could be a Darius Slayton. I know you don't like that, AJ, but Darius Slayton along with Deebo Samuel.
I'm more open to Diggs too, by the way. AJ's hilarious.
Yeah, if he can still,
because at one point I wasn't really with Diggs coming off that injury, but I'm a little bit more loosened up on the idea.
Yeah, but going back to Slayton, a guy like Slayton, not saying you have to get a Slayton, but even a Darius Slayton makes the room better, AJ. Like, I mean, you're telling me today if they sign a Darius Slayton, this wide receiver group is no better for it today if they were to sign a Darius Slayton or that caliber of wide receiver. AJ likes the guy, the name guys. Like, he's the name guys. Like, Darius Slayton, not a huge name, so I know AJ doesn't like him. But he's productive, AJ. You can't deny the productivity that he's had in his career. This guy's only had what?
And you cannot deny the drops that he's had. He's inconsistent.
What's his drop rate?
I don't know, bro. I ain't PFF. I ain't Nick. What is it, Nick Aldridge?
You said I ain't Nick.
You brought it up, so I want to know if you know the drop rate.
Let's see.
The worst thing they could have gave people is access to data and analytics with sports. Oh my God.
He got a 6.1.
Jay Tyler, I like stars because I'm a star. You a star too.
He has a 6.1 career drop percentage. When was he a rookie? He was a rookie in 2019. All right, cool. Yeah, so he has a 6.1 career drop percentage. I don't know where that ranks, but 6.1 career. His highest was in 2021. He had a 10% drop percentage. He has a total of 28 drops on how many targets has he had? 28 drops on 459 targets. I'd have to do the percentage, and I don't feel like doing that. But he had 4 last year.
He's a separator. He's a separator line. If you want to line him up in the outside, and AJ, if you are adamant about putting Deebo in the slot, Darius Slayton is a guy that can play on the outside, and he can separate on the outside.
Hey man, I'm looking forward to the league start year. So Darius Slayton can sign with a different team. I ain't never got his name.
No, it's fine if he does. I'm just saying, if you sign a guy like that, you're a better wide receiver group.
Nah, I mean, I think my issue with Darius Slayton, of course, I think he could be a contributor. My thing is, this is the most talented wide receiver core that we've ever seen in free agency be available.
Yeah, this class is insane.
And guys that are also
it sucks that they're a little bit older. But
even with them being older, I mean, age. Like Aaliyah once said, age ain't number.
I don't want to use that reference. Not knowing the context.
Yeah. Hey man, we ain't gonna talk about what you said last night before we ended the show.
I forgot, man. I don't even remember what I had for breakfast this morning.
How much you gonna give it up for?
Hey. Speaking of which, hey, now you got me wanting to go to Medellin if that's all it costs.
Hey, bro,
that boy Dre charging a minute. He charging a Medellin.
Hey, if it only costs 100 in Medellin, that's where I need to be.
Hey, just flash the bill, bro.
It's way too many talented wide receivers out there available in free agency to be setting your eyes on Darius Slayton. If you intend on signing him day one, and that's what you use your legal tampering to do, just chalk up the season, bro.
So I'm gonna shoot out some names that I like. This ain't about like wide receiver too. This is actually from the standpoint of like actually having a more vast wide receiver crew. All right, so I'll start with the one on the lower totem pole. That's DeMarcus Robinson. I like DeMarcus. I actually think I mentioned him in the offseason.
Go DeMarcus.
The offseason
Go DeMarcus. Go DeMarcus.
DeMarcus Robinson. I like him. I think that he'll work well in Washington. I think Hollywood, for obvious reasons. I mentioned him as Hollywood and DeMarcus. I mentioned both of them. I think Hollywood will be a good fit here in Washington. Christian Kirk has finally got released, so that's a guy that I like. I told y'all I'm open to Diggs now in terms of his coming to Washington. I'm more open on that idea, so I do like Diggs. It's unfortunate that Tay Adams is reportedly trying to go to the West Coast. I think it's funny that a lot of fans don't like Tay, and it's because of what he said about the city. And I'm like, bruh, like, first and foremost, so many different things I can say. First and foremost, everybody don't like where they play. Like currently in the NFL, like everybody is there because they maybe do like the area, or they may like the money, or they may have family in the area. Like they all have their own reasons for why they chose to sign somewhere. And it's not all because they like the city or the region, right? But then also, he said this a couple years ago where whatever he said verbatim, like whatever he said, where like the current culture doesn't even exist. It didn't exist. Like none of that shit was here. And then thirdly, who cares about what he said? Like words are words. Like if that hurts your feelings to the point where you really felt like you don't want to because he said the city or the people or the fans, something about the fans, like, bruh. If he came into the season, bro, and he put up 1,200 yards, I swear to God, every single one of them would not say a single bad word about Devontae, and they may even change their tune in a preseason game. Like, oh, you know what?
But look, here's the thing. Like, what a lot of people don't know behind the scenes, teams like the opposing teams pick where their players stayed. Like, as far as like hotel where their staff stayed.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know. I want to say the Raiders might have been in Largo. They might have been in Largo versus some teams have put them in downtown DC. So you get to enjoy the different restaurants. You get to enjoy the ambiance of shopping, being able to go to Georgetown, all those different things. If they were put in a bad area, that's his opinion. You feel me? Not all parts of the DMV look nice, but it's hard to sell someone when they're not getting put in the best environments. Like that's like someone playing the Washington Commanders. You go put them in Waldorf. No disrespect to Waldorf, but yeah, like putting them out there, you'd be like, yo, DC some shit.
No, I ain't gonna do it. I ain't gonna do it to the.
You'd be like, DC some shit, or you could say Woodbridge, whatever the case is. Anything in Virginia if you want to, but it's just like I think fans got to get over that. Like, if he ends up becoming a Washington Commander, offer to give him a tour of the area. You feel me? I bet it changed his mind because it's like we have beautiful parts. It's just that if you come here on a Saturday, you have several hours to yourself and you play Sunday, you out, and they put you in a area that's some ass, that's how you going to view the area as some ass because you don't know no better.
But is that it? Did he say something? Because I mean, I don't know. I think fans are just like going off. Because I know
he said it. I just never fully watched the interview. It was a Hot Ones. I don't know if you watched that show on YouTube, Hot Ones. With the Hot. It's actually a good show. But he said it on like this sub show of that YouTube channel. Okay. And I guess
my issue with Devontae is, bro, you had the opportunity to get out of Las Vegas with the Raiders and you chose to follow behind Aaron Rodgers. Like, I literally tweeted it like Devontae Adams is an idiot for following Brett Favre. I mean, not Brett Favre, but Aaron Rodgers. Same damn person pretty much. And look where he's at. Now he got to switch environments once again because he followed that dude. That's my only grievance with Devontae. Don't personally know dude, whatever, but like, you know, make better decisions. And hopefully this go round, he makes a better decision on where he wants to finish up his career. Because I think the one leverage that Washington has over everyone, and even Jay Gruden alluded to it, Jayden Daniels is already a top 5 quarterback going into his second year. Where can you find that at? Like someone that can literally throw any pass and can literally make guys better around him. It's not many in the league that can do that. And, you know, those other places, I'm not sure he's going to get opportunities. Cincinnati, Baltimore, who wants to go to Buffalo for real? Unless they about to pay you buku money. No one is just willingly signing in Buffalo. Yeah, so it's like your options are limited to play with a perennial all-pro quarterback.
So I listed my guys. What about y'all? And let's get up out of here. AJ, who do you like? Who are some people from a free agency perspective with this huge receiver class? Who are some names that you're like, you know, this would work in Washington and they need to try and get that?
I would say Darius Slade. Nah, let me
we
stop.
got better than. Hey, we're a
Nah,
better
let me
team
stop.
now.
I think at this rate, man, like I said, the DK Metcalfs of the world, it would be amazing, but I just think that it's too pricey, trade asset wise and also financially down the line. But I'm in favor of Stephon Diggs and Amari Cooper. I also like what's the other guy? I also like Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks would be a nice little piece as well. A speedster, Hollywood Brown. I'm not saying to be like a number one or number two, just additional pieces. But
I'm not judging the name Brandon. I mean, I got my opinion on the receiver. I was more so actually surprised that you would like him. That's why
I would like him more than the Christian Kirks or the Darius Slaytons of the world. They're like Sam Howell to me right now in my mind. Like when I hear their name, I just get. That's probably why I've been coughing so much today, because as I was running errands and doing things I needed to do, people were talking about Christian Kirk. Some people were DMing me about Christian Kirk. Yeah, and Darius Slayton, and I really blame Dre for this. I blame Dre and Linnell for Darius Slayton being mentioned. But at the end of the day, there's way too many guys. I like Stephon Diggs personally. I think that he would be great in that wide receiver room and bring exactly what they need. You have a 50-50 ball guy. You have a yak guy. And now you would have a route runner. I think that would be amazing to bring him back to the crib and let him do his thing and be able to get him at a fair number as well.
What about you, Jay?
Darius Slayton is one of the guys that I've kind of been advocating for. Hollywood Brown's another guy I wouldn't mind, even though he's a little bit on the smaller side, but I do think he's another guy that makes this wide receiver room better. He can make plays. But then if we're talking about, kind of those star names or those good names out there that I think neither one of you all have mentioned yet, but Chris Godwin, like I would look at a Chris Godwin. I mean, depending on the price, I don't know how much he costs. He's coming off the serious injury, but if he can still play, I mean, that's a guy that adds a lot to that wide receiver room. Probably maybe if you can get Chris Godwin pre-injury, that player, he's probably the best of that bunch out there on that wide receiver group.
Let's see what we got in the chat. David said, what about Amari Cooper? What's up, David? We got some fans on here for Amari. Jeff said, Adam has not added to a winning culture in about 4 years. Well, let me tell you something, Jeff. Appreciate you watching. Make sure you hit that like button. We definitely appreciate that, big dog. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the channel. I don't give a damn about what he added, what he didn't add. If he bringing up 1,200 yards to the team, I love that. That's what he bringing. And he bringing a whole different element to this offense that Washington don't got. When you can have a Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel alongside Devontae. All he's trying to do is win. Funny enough, of course he cares about his stats, but all he's trying to do is win. Like, put him in a winning situation and see what that look like. It ain't been like AJ said it best. I don't know why he's chasing Aaron Rodgers. He chased Aaron Rodgers. He chased Derek Carr. I could have told him before he made that move what was going to happen if he went to Derek Carr.
Making personal, he's making emotional moves. Derek Carr, that was his friend from college or something.
Bro.
Come on, man. If you want to win, go to a real quarterback. How about that?
Hey, man, listen to me. Call me, bro.
Bro, he likes Taco Bell. That tells you everything.
Johnny Davis for the Wizards.
Bro,
I ain't gonna lie to you.
Of all Latin restaurants in the world, someone likes Taco Bell, bro.
That's disgusting, bro. that is disgusting, bro. And then he talking about having it in his crib, bro. Hey,
can you imagine having Taco Bell in your crib? That toilet gotta be fucked.
Laxative, man. He said he like going to the bathroom.
He probably take that in the morning so he can clear his system out before games and shit. That's probably what it is. Dre, what'd you mention about Cuz from the Wizards?
No, I was saying Johnny Davis was another one that loved Taco Bell. He was one of their commercial dudes, and you see how that turned out.
He's still on the roster?
No, hell no. He's gone. I don't even know if he's in the NBA anymore.
What else we got in here? Jay Tizzy said no thanks on Brandon Cooks. Cap 78 said brings Diggs home. Jay Tizzy, Christian Kirk is solid. Slayton would be good. Vernon's funny. All right, get Diggs and we get Cardi B. Hey,
he's horny.
I ain't gonna lie to you,
horny.
bro. Seeing Cardi in person, bro. You know, I'm saying. I mean, they just casual. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying my thing, bro. I'm trying to put my little shades on, put my little chain on, bro. Go to work, bro. Some talking about, bro.
Cardi, nice, man. That's
Jordan said Cup if he released. What else we say? Oh, Nick Westbrook and Kenny. I don't feel good on about Nick. I think that he's just the person. Personally, I just think he's the person who scored a lot of touchdowns, and people think that he's like a touchdown machine now. And I'm just like, well, what does he do well? He's made some splash plays, but like I don't think like the rate of touchdowns that he gets, that's not sustainable. Like you can't do that year to year. Like you had a Hall of Fame receiver in Julio Jones who went like 2 or 3 seasons without a touchdown.
And that's all he did pretty much was catch touchdowns, wasn't it?
Yeah, he just catch touchdowns, bro. So Nick Westbrook Akini, and we can close out on that.
Okay. I mean, I got a question, and it's not nothing we have to expand on or anything, but was there a report that came out today? Because I got a brief little mention of it that the Commanders plan on releasing John Allen if they don't find a trade partner.
Shit, they should.
Something flashed on my phone, so I mean that may be a thing.
They should. That's kind of why I asked. Like whenever we brought it up,
yeah.
I haven't seen the report to answer your question directly. I haven't seen the report, but
yeah,
I mean,
Michael Silver,
he said it.
He said it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because I mean, like,
so I wonder what the deadline is on that.
I would imagine they try to do it before free agency starts.
The next 2 days, because it's like that frees up 16 mil. So
that's true.
It's like, I mean, that's another reason why teams, they know, like, either you're going to take this comp or you just going to have to release it for free. And that's what's probably about to happen because it's too much money to just sit there and possibly keep on the roster. 16 mil that's a wide receiver. That's a corner per year. You feel me? So
yeah.
Well, that's Deebo Samuel.
Yeah. Damo said Josh Palmer can play. I'm cool with Josh. Like I like Josh, and I think he's a bigger body than the Kirk, that conversation that we was having. So yeah, I'm not. Well, it depends. What else we getting? But Josh Palmer's cool. All right. Boom, there it is. Jay Gruden, wide receiver talk. Gearing up for free agency. We'll be back on Tuesday to talk some more ball. Somebody asked me on Twitter. I might as well say it before I get out of here. Somebody asked about the Deebo Samuel film session. Thankfully, that is wrapped up. I was able to kind of close things off today. I'm gonna go ahead and try to get that out either before the week is out or sometime next week. Got some receivers.
You know that joint dropping at 4 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Shit, I gotta go to work tomorrow. I gotta go to work tomorrow. But nah, Jay Tizzy, that's another thing we got to try to figure out now. I mean, you know about you in the city, so you know about the federal worker stuff. Things is changing, bro. So once I figure those things out, that's it. But right now, pause on the morning show. Those are going to be sporadic and random. But the film session, Deebo Samuel's coming out. Luther Burden was the name that I was thinking of. I couldn't. Luther Burden, I wrapped that one up. We'll get that one out soon as well. And then we'll keep things pushing. I don't know what position to go to next in terms of the draft, but free agency is around, so that can actually help me out when they start signing some guys. So we'll see. And if they get Christian Kirk, that's easier because I already did the scout report on Christian Kirk. So that'll make my job easier. But that's gonna wrap it up for us. We'll be back on Tuesday. All 32 is also gonna be back. We're back for the free agency period as well. So we got a couple shows next week. So y'all take it easy. Enjoy your night. Be safe.
Tuesday, we're gonna have some players getting signed. Well, agreeing.
By Monday. Even Monday starts.
We're
We
gonna have
have
some things to
guys
talk
agreeing
about.
to terms. So yeah.
Yeah.
Christian
All
Kirk, baby.
Chop it down, chop it down, chop it down, you gon' chop it down. Chop it down, you gon' chop it down. Down, set, watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through 4th and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive, this is Trap or Die.